What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Alex and Things podcast. I'm your host, Alex Wing. Happy New Year, man. We're really here. A new day, a new year. Man, what a time, what a moment we're living in right now, man. But yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. It's our first conversation of the year. Episode 6, man. Episode 6 of the podcast, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. It always reminds me of when I first started doing this, but always looking forward nonetheless, man, with all the love and support from everybody. Just the continuous inspiration and just support and uplifting for everything that I'm trying to put out there and achieve with, sharing content, sharing conversations and stuff. But yeah, yeah, just hope everybody's continuing to stay safe, take care of you and yours, and continue the pursuit of being great, man. Even though 2020 may have like stopped it to a degree or shape shifted it in a certain way, we have to have that tunnel vision and get back up on our feet and turn it up a notch with our mindset and just believe that everything is in the cards for us. Everything that's meant to be there in our lives will be there when it's meant to be, even if 2020 does stuff like make the vision a little bit more dimmer or makes it more dark, makes it more uncertain. So that's the thing about life. It's uncertain by nature, and the pandemic kind of heightened it, obviously. But we have to remain, optimistic and strong in our hearts and in our minds that things eventually will get better. So yeah, much love to everybody, man. Hope everybody's doing good, doing their thing, man. Just happy to be back on the pod, bringing y'all more conversations, perspective, and just insight and experience as to all the things that make me myself and other things that touch other people as well. So, but yeah, y'all, episode 6 today, man. We're gonna be talking about mindfulness and just other ways in which we can really improve and get better with being mindful within ourselves and other people. So that'll be what we're talking about today. And for me, this conversation was really inspired by a lot of different things, but mainly just some recent conversations I've had with friends and things that I've been thinking about in terms of like how do we carry ourselves in the real world and just the consequences of certain ways that we behave and communicate with other people. So, thinking about all those things, I was just like, I mean, I'm someone that really weighs the intangible things about life very heavily. So, this conversation, along with like the calendar flipping as well, it really just makes sense. And it just felt like mad perfect timing, man. So, here we are with the conversation, man. So, yeah, we'll be talking about mindfulness, what it means, and dive into some things on how do we manifest it, the, I guess, different levels that I perceive mindfulness to have, and also just different ways in which we can, manifest it and convey it, and ways in which we can, like I said, enhance our ways and methods to being mindful for ourselves and other people and stuff. So, yeah, y'all, that'll be what our conversation is about today. But right before I get into that, just wanted to share a couple of things really quickly. It's that time of the year. Some people are still in school, still in work, and all that good stuff. But just in my own life, I have a lot of friends going back to school and work. So I just want to give a quick shout out to every single one of my friends, man. Love all y'all, man. I'm so proud of y'all. Just hope that y'all keep on going, doing y'all thing, man. Y'all know I'm gonna be here, watching y'all, supporting y'all, and doing everything I can to uplift y'all. So yeah, man, love my friends so much, man. Got so much love, respect, and admiration for them, and just hope y'all keep doing y'all thing, man. Because I'm here. That's how we should be with all of our friends, man. Just have an open mind, open heart, no matter where our journeys may take us. Because we're all trying to do great. We're all trying to do great things, man, and have a lasting impact. But yeah, yeah. Also, with the new year, obviously we're still carrying over a lot of lingering craziness from 2020. So it still feels like, in some ways, the same year. It's kind of like 2020 plus, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I kind of just think about it in terms of like a book. Like the book analogy is one of my favorite, if not, my favorite analogy ever, because life is literally just like a book. We got to keep on walking, step after step, step by step. And just like with a book, we got to keep on writing, word for word. I mean, word by word, word after word, man. And just really um, just give into our story and just live our story the way it's meant to be, lived out by, also just walking our path. No matter where our path may lead us, we just have to continue to believe in, whatever path we've been given, and just know that whatever is meant for us, will come to us and, be in the cards for us. So it's kind of just like with books as well. Like we just had this past chapter, it was, a very tumultuous and super roller coaster like chapter. So as with, real life, we got to flip the page on chapter 2020 and just keep it pushing forward and keep on moving along and trying to make the present moment, the now, the here, make that better so that, everything that comes after that will be even better than, what we've known in the past. So yeah, yeah. With that in mind, I was just also thinking about um, how also with this year just starting and still being relatively fresh, it's good to have like, something like the NFL playoffs, just um, top tier sports, just being around, especially for the NFL because like they're in the playoffs right now. So like, the competition is like ramped up to, the highest levels. And it's just good to have, like sports as that spiritual, emotional outlet in this time where, we're still, suffering from a lot of different things. And it's not just football because they're in the playoffs, but also we have um, the the NBA, which is still relatively fresh. We have the National Hockey League, which just started, and also we have the WNBA, which just started free agency, I believe, and Major League Baseball, they just started as well. And also we have international football, which is like going around all the time. So all of that is fantastic, man. But no matter what your outlet is, it's just good to have it and keep on resorting to it because we need those in a time like this where things are so um, uneasy to navigate. So yeah, man, just big shout out to sports, man. It's been a very good feeling to still have them. But also, y'all, it's a new year, it's a new day. We just got to keep on hoping that with every chapter, with every page we turn, we can do everything within our power to make what's here now better, so that everything that can come after, that will come after, will be even better. And I say that because today's conversation is about mindfulness, and it's just about opening up your mind, opening up your heart to things that we once didn't really appreciate as much or didn't see a certain way. So that's why I wanted to bring up this specific conversation. I felt like it's just a good reminder of um, opening up your mental capacity and your emotional capacity to not just yourself, but to other people too. Because as human beings, it's within our, I mean, it is our innate nature it is our innate nature to share life with people, share what we're thinking, share what we're feeling, because we're social creatures and we're bound to run into each other in a world full of human beings. So um, why not have a way in which we can further our understanding of connecting with people in terms of bridging that gap between how much we don't know each other, how much we don't love each other, to loving each other more, understanding each other more, and really closing that gap, and to a point where we can really not understand each other in full, but grow and love one another more than we did than at a previous point. So yeah, yeah. Just want to talk about those things really quickly before we dive into today's conversation. But yeah, yeah. Nothing else left to be said on that front. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So today we're talking about mindfulness, right? This conversation is going to be um, relatively fun, relatively chill, all those good things. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We're going to divide it into two parts. So the first part, we're just going to be talking about what is mindfulness, how do we utilize mindfulness, um, what do I believe the world or society, however you want to term it, how do people view mindfulness and how do people operate on mindfulness, at least from my own experience and from what I've seen with other people and so forth. And then for the second part, we're going to dive a little bit more into ways in which we can improve and really harness our power of being mindful and just find trying to bring about different ways in which we can really give life to mindfulness so that we can really, like I mentioned, um, go beyond the surface level when it comes to knowing somebody and get closer with people, whether it's bridging the gap or just just getting past that surface level point where um, you don't really know somebody, but you're giving yourself room and another person room in order to grow with one another. So those are the kind of things we'll be talking about today. Hopefully, y'all are able to connect with some of the things that I'm talking about or remember some things that are important when it comes to moving forward or carrying yourself. So, yeah, y'all, without further ado, let's get right into it. For me personally, mindfulness is like one of my favorite things because it's a really big part of who I am um, as a person, as a spirit, as a soul. Like I feel like it really just is something that resonates within you. And if you don't really understand it, or if you don't exhibit it a lot or show it a lot, it's probably not something that you can just, mix up in a bowl and, boom, product finished. Like, here's your um, portion of mindfulness. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of something that just has to exist within you and be a natural part of, the way in which you go about life. So for me, mindfulness is kind of just like, well, not kind of just like it is. Mindfulness to me is just being able to be aware, conscious, and ultimately just being present with somebody in terms of understanding who they are, what they're about, the kind of things that they stand for, and ultimately just being able to encompass everything that comes with sharing life with somebody else to a point where y'all can really bridge that gap, um, close that close that circle in terms of not knowing people or knowing somebody else and allowing everyone that you're talking to or interacting with to be comfortable with sharing life with you and doing things in which you can further your mindfulness and your understanding of somebody else. So for me personally, when it comes to showing how mindful I am to people, I often just I oftentimes just try to let people know whatever it is you want to talk about or be present with me about. Like, I'm going to be all ears and all mind and all heart. Everything's going to be open and on the table for you. Like, just share whatever it is you need to with me, and I'm always going to make sure that in my um manifesting mindness, in my mindness, in my mindfulness manifesting itself, I'm just thinking about reserving judgment and not having any preconceived notions about said person or said people, and just making the room the opportunity that we're both giving one another to learn about one another, making that a very safe and comfortable space, because oftentimes we confuse that room and that opportunity with something that should be an okay space, like an okay space to judge or um consider people's choices or behaviors in a certain light, because we don't understand the fullest extent of where they're coming from. So that's just kind of what I believe um, is a good example of how we can be mindful of other people, because oftentimes it's just kind of like what I mentioned earlier, that surface level mindfulness. That is where we tend to either slip up, or we just tend to forget that mindfulness is bigger than understanding the cover, just the cover of somebody's book. Because oftentimes people, first of all, people barely read. So like when people do things like assume and judge before getting to know somebody or something, like people don't even like read the back cover of a book, but they're willing to read the front cover and give up or throw away the book, whatever the case may be, and be okay with that judgment after not having done their due diligence in terms of getting to know somebody and opening up their mind and their hearts to um, getting to learn who somebody is and what they're about. So that's why I feel like the levels of mindfulness, it really helps us understand who is really willing to put their minds and their hearts on the table for people who, like, just look at it, like 2020, we really needed to be there for one another with all the difficult events that took place and the difficult reminders that we had to be reminded of as a collective. And I feel like more than ever, at least for as long as I've been existing, it was a very unique time because we had to not just try and remind other people that we want to be there for them and we will be there for them, but it was just with the pandemic, it kind of also took away that like physical closure that we normally have when we're talking to people. We had to really switch up the way in which we connect and communicate with people because we couldn't even really see people. So in that sense, we really had to do some extra digging deep in order to reach out to people and open up the cell phone, open up the laptop, and you know call your friend on on a video call, or send that text message or whatever the case may be, because it's not it became a lot more difficult to see your friends and stuff. So like that mindfulness right there, I feel like that's really what, in my experience, it really helped show. It helped show whose mindfulness was really um, prepared and ready for something like 2020, in terms of reminding their friends and whoever it is that they love that you know I don't want y'all to forget that I'm here. I'm going to be there for y'all. So I just feel like demonstrating that considerable level of mindfulness is like, it's a lot better than what most people like to show. Like, there's the surface level mindfulness, the considerable level of mindfulness, and then there's more that I'll talk about later. But it's just mainly about being willing to be present and there for your friends. So that's what I really love about talking about something. That's what I really love when it comes to talking about something like mindfulness. So yeah, y'all, that's kind of what I perceive mindfulness to be, and what I believe to be true about mindfulness in terms of like at least how people around me perceive it and how the world, I guess, as a whole really understands it. So, but yeah, it's kind of like life happens like moment by moment and step by step, and oftentimes we don't take enough time to slow down and stop and pause and really dive into our mental repository. And, oh, shout out to my friend Carolyn for repository. Like, she's been saying that word in a lot of our conversations, and I'm just like, oh, that would fall into this conversation perfectly. So shout out to my friend, man. um just being able to stop and take a second to really dive into our mental repository when we're having these intimate interactions with people, and really processing and analyzing and trying to configure our thoughts and where we stand with other people's thoughts, feelings, and ideas. I feel like that's really something we have to remember when life is going so fast and at a speed where sometimes we can't even keep up. But when we do that, when we pause and dive back into our mental bank, mental repository, our minds, that's where mindfulness exists, right? In our minds, we can really give ourselves an opportunity to glance at how we operate in terms of trying to empathize and sympathize with people in terms of, themselves, their things that they go through, their behaviors, whatever the case may be, their feelings. So I just feel like that's something that we can always remind ourselves of. And also, that also reminds me of something I want to talk about, which, I mean, it's probably a good point now. We're going to transition into the second part of the conversation where we talk about ways in which we can really enhance and improve and step up the ways we can really come to understand mindfulness within ourselves and other people. So, like I was just saying, um, I was just talking about having that mental repository, right? There was a conversation me and some friends we were having recently on a group call that really reminded me of why I wanted to do this specific conversation. So um, recently we were talking and stuff, and one of my friends, oh, we were playing the game. Uh, we're not really strangers, or we're really not we're really not strangers, or we're not really strangers. It's one of those variations. But my friend, they was asked a question, and then the question went something like, "How do you often answer when you're given the question? How do you really feel, or how are you doing, or something like that?" And like like the actual question is that they're talking about is how are you really feeling? And me and all my friends, we just laughed at that because we knew that the general sentiment, like the typical behavior around that question is normally like it's like the reaction is usually casual and the intention is normally really casual. It's not meant to be a full blown conversation where oh we say how are you doing? You know, good, and then boom, a full conversation. Like that's not normally how it goes because oftentimes people are just greeting each other and they're just looking to say, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well and stuff like that. So we were just laughing at that, and that really just reminded me of like how we can take steps back or even just pause in the moment so that we can understand how much we truly come to terms with like opening up our minds and our hearts to other people. So oh yeah, also for those group calls, just want to shout out my friend Obiji because she was the orchestrator for those conversations that we're having in our group calls and stuff. So yeah, man, if there's anything you need friends like that that'll keep y'all in touch and remind y'all that y'all want to be there for each other. It's that opening up your mind to, mindfulness, man. Hell yeah, man. But yeah, also really quickly, part of this conversation was really inspired by some of my favorite authors, Don Miguel Ruiz and Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. They write a lot of books on like spiritual, like basically the symbolism of intangibles. At least that's how I like to put it, because like spirituality, having a strong faith, having a strong love, having a strong awareness for different things in life that you often can't really see or touch. It's kind of something you just have to feel within you. Like that stuff really resonates with me because it really helps me love myself unconditionally and really be mindful of the life that I've been given, and just being mindful of like my own path as it is and not really worrying about how other people's paths may be, well, people's paths are like this, or they're that. Why is my path not similar or like that in a way? It's just about respecting how everyone's differences are all their own, and yours are the same way. So for me, like just having that open minded mindfulness, that really it really told me um this is how I want to carry myself when it comes to activating and opening up my mindfulness. So yeah, man, like one of the things I was thinking about as well in terms of this part of the conversation, when it comes to improving how we understand mindfulness, we I just mentioned it, we have to really be willing to love people unconditionally. Like when I talked about that question, how are you really feeling? In the spaces where we can and we are able to, we have to give people that opportunity to, be safe and be vulnerable and be open to us as outlets for them to, talk to us and interact with us so that we can get closer with one another and bridge that gap between not knowing somebody and knowing somebody more and loving somebody more. You know what I'm saying? So it's just about um, not allowing fixed terms or certain conditions to run the way that you love somebody or define a relationship. So, because if you're waiting for something to be accepted or approved, then it's just kind of like you're likely to never be satisfied, because even when the terms are met, it'll feel like there had to be some kind of means met before that so that the relationship could be validated and verified in a certain way. So it's just kind of like manifesting um, a robotic kind of like vibe when it comes to your love and your mindfulness when it comes to somebody. It had to reach a certain point for the love to be activated and the mindfulness to be opened. So it's just kind of like that's something that actually Don Miguel Ruiz and Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. they talk about in some of their writing that I always keep with me, because like that's kind of how I live my life. When you love people unconditionally, it doesn't really matter what people go through or how people operate. You're willing to, let them know that you love them no matter what, because they're fine just the way that they are. They're amazing just the way that they are. We don't need to use fixed means or um, fixed meanings in order to reach points in a relationship where we can say, oh, somebody is, worthy of loving now, and they weren't worthy of being loved before. So just being fixated with certain things like that, it really it limits the potential of certain relationships. And also, with respect to this conversation, it limits your ability to be fully mindful of, what it means to be aware and conscious of somebody. So yeah, when you're given a space to share life with somebody, love somebody unconditionally for everything that they've gone through, no matter how weird or different it may seem. Everybody is unique in their own way, and us sharing our stories with one another, our different stories with one another, is no different. So also, being unafraid, it kind of goes with loving unconditionally as well, because sometimes we're afraid to either share our own stories or react to other people's stories, because oftentimes we're sharing things that we've never heard before, or sharing new things that we once didn't know about, and oftentimes that experience is new in of it itself. So it's just kind of like we're all taking in like a new experience. And for me personally, how I've been able to like navigate that, I just try to be very appreciative first off, and very comfortable with being an outlet, being a source for hope, love, and mindfulness for somebody. Because you got to understand that when people come to you and when people open up to you, they're exhibiting their own level of mindfulness for the way in which you're operating and stuff. So you got to really just love and respect where people are coming from when it comes to interacting with somebody on a very deeper level. It's kind of like what I talked about earlier with like, people caring only on the surface level. And then there's like the considerate level. And like the level that I'm talking about right now is kind of like the unafraid and very, very connected level, because you love somebody unconditionally to the point where you're not afraid to share how much you love somebody. Like, we're going to be vulnerable together, we're going to be safe together, and this should be a space where you feel good to open up your mind and your heart to somebody. So for me personally, that's something that I really feel like people can remember when they're trying to think about other people and the things that they're going through. Just being unafraid, because at the end of the day, um, people remember effort. People remember like who really tried to be there for them. People remember your presence, and no matter how it looks, like you took that energy and you tried to turn it into something very special. Which is your mindfulness, and just you're being aware of somebody existing, even if it was difficult to navigate someone's story or whatever the case may be. You really took what was in your soul, in your spirit, to um, give yourself to somebody so that they can give themselves to you in a way. So, I mean, I feel like those things really go hand in hand. But also, um, along with those two things, when it comes to improving and understanding our mindfulness, we can also really remember that when it comes to sharing ourselves with other people, we have to remember that everybody's story is different, and everybody comes from something different. Everybody goes through different things. And it's kind of like what I mentioned earlier with like the whole learning past someone's cover page. We really have to be willing to learn from people's, if they're opening up to that degree. Like I always say to my friends, when you meet a friend, like let's say you're aged like 25, and you meet like your best friend at age 22, from the time that y'all met to the present day, which is age 25, y'all have probably spent a lot of time learning about each other and what you're trying to do for the future, and the here and now. But also in the process, we have to also be mindful of the fact that this person didn't exist just at age 22 through 25 or whatever the case may be. We have to really go back and remember that people came from chapter preface or chapter zero, whatever the case may be, chapter introduction, all the way to the present day chapters, and really try to encompass what their journey has been like, so that we can really immerse ourselves in the meanings that people have come to develop, and the feelings that people have come to develop when it comes to sharing life with you. I feel like that's like the ultimate sign of mindfulness, when you're really willing to give yourself in full to other people. And, like what I said with the other tips and the other methods to being mindful: loving unconditionally, being unafraid, and um, being unafraid, loving unconditionally. And like what I said just now, be willing to understand somebody's full story, even though the stories are always being written like, day by day, step by step. We can take a big step forward by encapsulating the truth of someone's entire story. So, because there's just so many ways in which we can let people know that we are mindful, and we want to do it in a way that allows you to feel like, you're being accepted just for who you are, not on any fixed terms or fixed means, or, you know, um, something of the sort. So, but yeah, y'all. I mean, for me personally, when I talk about things like these, it really reminds me of the kind of person that I am and the kind of person that I want to become, because these things really mean so much to me, because um, character matters. And oftentimes, like one of my friends said it the other day, um, character is about, who you are in the dark when no one's watching. And I was just like, that's something that I always love repeating, because it's the truth. Like, the truth always comes to light, and then people, when they're able to get a chance to see you, you're able to, let people know and remind people that, there's the character that I've been working on, or that I've always been working on, away from, the crowd, the lights, and all of that stuff. So um, for me, I just try to continue to open my mind and open my heart in ways that I didn't really before, because you just never know who you're going to meet or what stories you'll encounter, because that's the ultimate sign of love and respect. Because when you love unconditionally, you love people for who they are as is, and you don't ask people to change or fix who they are in order to look or feel a certain way, because at that point, you're pretty much doing everyone in that space, in that opportunity, to open up with mindfulness, doing everybody a disservice, because you're pretty much doing the opposite, the whole contrary to being mindful. And you're kind of shortcutting, like what I said earlier, you're selling. I don't know if I said that earlier, but you're pretty much shortcutting the beauty of being mindful, because now you're so in tune with one linear idea, one stagnant idea of loving somebody. They only can be like this. They can only be like this. They can only do things like this. They must abide by this, whatever the case may be. So that just really um, it narrows that space by which you can really give love and give mindfulness to somebody. So that's why I try to be as open as I can, because you just never know who you're going to meet, man. And there's so many beautiful people out there in this world, and if you're able to open up your mind and your heart to that capacity, you'd be lucky to meet some of the people that I've met, man. So yeah, man. I just love conversations like this, man, because they have so much real world meaning. And I guess for this specific conversation, we can all use a reminder for remembering what's important at the end of the day. Just being there for yourself, being there for your friends and people you don't know, because you just never know who you're going to meet in life, and you just also never know how life is going to turn out, especially with how the past 12 months have been. You just never know when you may not see someone again, man. So, but yeah, y'all. If y'all made it this far in the pod, y'all know I always appreciate it, man. Got so much love and respect for y'all, man. And as always, look forward to um, catching y'all hopefully on the next episode, man. If y'all like any of my episodes, hope y'all are sharing them with your friends, family, or listen to all the episodes. If y'all are able to, check me out on my other social media so y'all can check out other things that I'm creating. And yeah, as always, y'all, it's always love from everything that I have to all of y'all, man. Y'all help me make these things possible. And I just hope that we can continue to keep this ride going, man. So, um, from the Alex and Things podcast, episode 6, um, catch y'all on the next episode, man. Appreciate y'all. Oh, if there was anything you really want to take from this episode, man, I just hope that um, for the sake of accountability and real life, I just hope that um, with this conversation, everyone can remember to, be mindful for themselves or share mindfulness with other people, but to also, be mindful and not a mind full. So it's kind of like being a handful. You don't want to be a handful to somebody. So don't be a mindful either. Just be mindful of someone and, be very considerate and, be unafraid to help somebody. Be unafraid, be unconditional with, doing good for the world, not just yourself. So, because, the world is all about how you impact other people and, you do well for other people. So, yeah, y'all, from the Eyes and Things podcast, our sixth conversation. Look forward to catching y'all again, man. Until then, much love and peace, y'all.